Hello and welcome back to Read Becca, and welcome to the finale of all my 2021 wrap-up videos. We've finally reached the end. It only took a month. I had planned on trying to speed things up by jamming more videos into my weeks, and I hit a slowdown in the second half of January for sure, so that's fine. There's no deadline to get these done. It's okay to finish these out when you feel like it. So we're finishing up 2021 strong with my goals reflections. So I want to jump into the goals, but contextualizing the first goal, I think I have to ramble a little bit. I really want to strongly point you and generally anyone out there to Gina Stanier's video, The Best Goal is No Goal, where she talks about kind of how we drive ourselves to be productive so much and unnecessarily. Like, we don't have to do that. So, BookTube, y'all are terrible at setting goals. I see so many bad goals. I see people making goals that have no basis in reality, and that is fine if you can do it for fun. If you truly can do it for fun and not put any stock in. That's great. Getting caught up in it and in the moment and excitement, setting a goal that is unrealistic, or shooting for the moon is not going to work out for you. In order for goals to be effective in your life as a bigger thing, you have to build up a reward response with yourself. Not just about this specific thing that you're setting that goal for, but as a broader mental function of who you are. So you need to have small incremental changes in terms of your goals, things that are attainable and observable, measurable. You need to get that reward response so that when you set goals in other areas of your life, you will have the right reaction internally. And so people setting these bad goals all the time sets them up for failure and a lack of success with the goals that they really do want or need in their personal life or business. Any sort of success that you're trying to reach through goal setting is not going to work out if you have constantly set yourself up for failure with goal setting in the past. So that's just my broad thoughts on goal setting. I'm generally with Gina. However, I think I'm an exception for the most part. I tend to be kind of a bit of a workaholic, really. And I think for me, I have had to use goals counterintuitively to that to get myself back on track with the things that I enjoy, because I tend to get in a rut where I just grind. I don't get to the things that I enjoy. I will just repeat things over and over, really. And goals have helped me keep a focus on the things that I actually really want to prioritize for my own personal enjoyment, for my own values, that sort of thing. So I think where that ties back into discussing my goals, jumping into goal number 1, that first goal was just my book count. So that's the one that we see everyone has on their goals almost. So my book count, I set it at 125 books, which is high, but I had actually decreased that from what I really read the previous year in 2020 to 125, and I actually read 180 books. Now, from everything that you see out there, most people would just continue shooting that goal up a little bit more and more. Intuition, based on what everybody's doing, would say, oh, set that at 200 for next year. I don't really need to read more. I've, mentioned multiple times here that I actively do want to be reading more. I feel like I'm spending time doing other things that I don't necessarily really want to be doing, or even making BookTube videos, I feel like often is taking away from reading time for me. So I don't need that goal to be driving me toward reading. I'm intrinsically being driven toward reading more books. So that goal has served its purpose. It's not effective for me anymore. I don't need to keep raising it and pushing myself to be on the productivity wheel of reading more books. So I feel like goal achieved. I'm very happy about that. I did read more than I have ever read in terms of book count and in terms of page count. So that's agnostic to me. I wasn't particularly trying to read more, but it's a new high for my lifetime as far as I know in terms of what I've got recorded history. I have about 10 years of history on Goodreads, so that's a long time for this to be the brand new high, and I think BookTube definitely contributed to that. So I read 180 books and 47,998 pages, which is an awful lot. So my second goal, jumping into more specific individual things, I have a number of TBRs that I kind of set up in a layered fashion, and they were slightly different in 2021 from 2022. So in 2021, I set a fairly large Goodreads TBR, which is really just an unowned TBR. I have an unowned TBR and a physical TBR. And my unowned TBR I had set fairly high. And so what I actually read from that was 12 books, which I'm pretty happy with. I think that's about the best that I've done in recent years in terms of the ratio of read to unread. And I actually think one a month is pretty solid. So working from that achieved amount, my new unowned TBR for 2022, I set at 14 items. So I didn't make it such a large pool. It's now very, very achievable in terms of having that metric data from 2021 to project what I need to do for 2022. So I don't fully expect myself to read all 14 in 2022, but I'm very happy with having read the 12 that I completed in 2021. Goal number 3 was to read my own books, and I had, again, in terms of TBRs, I had a physical TBR, but I also own hundreds of books that I haven't read. So from my physical TBR, I read 11 and kind of a half because I started The Dark Forest during 2021 and I finished it in 2022. So including that 11, I read a total of 32 owned books, which is fantastic. That's, I think, the highest number I've had. Even though I read more this year, I seem to always hover around 30-ish books of my own read. So I don't know what that's about, but I do actually want to push that up more. So this year I'm making a very concentrated effort to read more of my owned books because I want to kind of turn over some things that I think are going to be one-time reads, and I will read them and unhaul them, things like that, so that I can make more room on my shelves for additional books. So beyond that, of those 32 that I read, I have unhauled 9. So I think that's a pretty good ratio. I also reread, included in those, a total of 6 books. So my 6 rereads were 5-star reads the first time. They were 5-star reads on the reread, so they're staying in my collection. So everything is looking pretty great there in terms of having a solid amount of turnover and actually reading things that I really loved that I want to keep in my collection. My 4th goal. This one is the most interesting goal, I think, because it was ineffective for me. And that was to read all of the Hainish novels. These are a series of sci-fi novels by Ursula K. Le Guin. I have a very lovely Library of America 2 Omnibus set. So I wanted to finish the entire Hainish novels. And that's theoretically manageable for me based on the amount that I read. This first volume has five novels, plus all of the introductions to the novels and short stories and a few essays as well. So I've completed this one omnibus. Prior to 2021, I had actually read 2 of the novels. So I read 3 novels, all the short stories, and all of the introductions and essays. However, I did not get into the second omnibus at all. And that has I think 2 more novels. It has a collection of novellas and short stories, and ultimately I'm fine with where we ended up. I am just not that type of reader. Between this goal and, again, going back to my Goodreads TBR, I had a couple of series that I wanted to finish that I put the remaining books to complete on my Goodreads TBR. I also did not complete those. And this is kind of the realization, or I was trying to change the reader that I am, and I tried for 2 years based on using those goals, and it didn't change. This is something lifelong where I'm just not a series reader in that way. I do like to read sequels, but I don't like to read sequels from a series back to back or even in close proximity, so I just won't get back to them, and that's exactly what happened here, and I'm fine with that. So I may pick up 1 book next year from this series, and that's fine. So I will continue on with wanting to progress this and have this in mind, but I'm not going to try to rush myself into finishing long series over a short period of time because that's just not the reader that I am. So I'm completely happy to let that goal go. That's not an effective goal for me, and we're going to move on with it. The next goal, number 5, was read more romance, and I wanted to get 1 per month. In fact, I got almost 2 per month, so I read 23 romance last year. And that was at least in part because I ran my November readathon, and I ran like 7 books in that month and then a couple of carryover into December. It was fantastic. The final goal was just to read more long and short stuff. I stopped even tracking short stuff because I was doing so well at that. I had added this goal mid-year because I specifically was not reading as much longer tomes as I wanted. So I've carried on that goal into 2022 by setting a goal this year of 1 tome per month. So the short stuff was very easy. I kept myself picking up children's books, which I love, but I hadn't been picking up regularly. I read some comics, that kind of thing. I read novellas. So I think that went great. The long stuff, I actually read 14 tomes, so 14 books over 500 pages for my purposes. And that's a wonderful amount. That's more than I had intended. So I think I did great on that goal. And as long as I'm keeping my focus there, I think I am going to continue keeping up with picking up those bigger books. But I do think I need that extra push of having that reminder of having a goal in my list that will tell me I've got to keep track of this. I've got to keep pushing to actually pick these up and not just slide into all of the short stuff and forget all the big stuff. So yeah, I think I did great on goals. I'm really happy with my progress in all of these goals. I'm really happy with how these helped me shape and make better goals for 2022, really. So that's really what I'm looking for out of having metric data, is setting things that are going to be very effective and knowing where I'm at currently so that those goals are actually realistic. So that's where I'm at. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Is there anything else that I have left off that you wanted to see me recap from 2021? Hopefully this is it though. Thank you so very much for hanging in with me with all of this 2021 wrap-up stuff. Onward to the new 2022 stuff. Thank you so much for watching.